Need to sell your car? Tried the internet and don't want strangers at your house? Give it to us, CarNet Auctions Adelaide, and if we don't sell it for you, we won't charge you a thing. Visit our website caa.com.au and ask for Darren. He will sell your car the easy way, no sale, no charge. CarNet Auctions, Grand Junction Road, Athol Park.
Sports Centre is South Australia's leading lawn bowls apparel supplier. With over 40 years' experience in designing, manufacturing and supplying sporting apparel, we have revitalised the look of tired and aged clubs and made them progressive, vibrant and the envy of other clubs. Sports Centre creates original designs to suit your club, and we supply a full range of bowls apparel that will ensure your club looks its best. Whether you need polos, vests, all-weather jackets, long or short pants, socks and caps, we have it all, so you won't need to travel far and wide across the city. Sports Centre is your one-stop bowls apparel specialist outlet.
Yes, thanks for staying with us. We said we'd turn our attention to one of the big sports in South Australia. Bowls, of course, is one of the biggest, and I'm joined by Mark Easton, the CEO of Bowls SA. Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Phil.
Lots of different things to talk about with bowls. Maybe the participation of bowls. I mean, the age from 2 to 100.
It's a very powerful sport. It is a sport for all. We're a sport for life, as we put it, and anyone can play it, so we don't discriminate in any way, shape or form. But the sport is a very powerful sport inside of this state, and resonating with numbers that 320,000 people at a game of bowls in South Australia last year.
Wow. Now, traditionally, bowls has always been seen in white on a Saturday, yes. The men on one green, the women on another green. It's changed now. There's night owls, there's different colours. I mean, night owls, as I understand it, was a South Australian idea?
South Australian, trademarked, born and bred, and certainly a great participation rate within night owls. That's the main feeder for our sport, and certainly a driver for our sport moving forward, that we always looked at it as an opportunity for clubs to help them make money, and obviously represents an income for them as well.
Competitive bowls, that's still the big one. South Australia always been strong in bowls.
Yes.
Younger kids coming in now, middle stream, older, do they combine well together?
It's just a wonderful sport. It really is a passionate sport that we've got as young as the youngest pennant player was 7 years old, coming out of Adelaide, the youngest ever in Australia. And he's intermingling with obviously a side that's elderly at the same time. So it's a sport that is housed, and you can come from any walk of life with any background and obviously play it inside of the sport. So we've got our state side and our Australian side is younger than the Australian cricket side.
Wow, it's impressive. All right, the Premier League's on Foxtel. We've been runners-up in that. So yes. Bowls is really strong in South Australia.
It's very, very strong, and we've actually got onto the Australian stage, or the national stage, just recently, where we got down to the very last day and unfortunately missed out, but it would have been the first time in 30 years that we actually took the title out nationally in the men, and obviously from that we're looking to back that up again this year and go one better.
Mate, there's always a cost. You know, you drive past, driving here, come past the Tranmere Bowl Club, and you look at the greens and you go, they're magnificent. The upkeep for bowls is high?
It's upkeep. The sport has obviously developed into synthetics as well, so there's synthetic costs that some clubs have decided to go to, which obviously represents a 52-week business model for them to be open more often. But obviously the traditionalists love the turf greens, which is obviously fantastic within the sport, and certainly having 220 clubs affiliated with us and there's a club in every town. So we obviously like to house those facilities and represent that the greens themselves are, depending on where you go.
Could you see the greens ever becoming like an Etihad, you know, where you have closed synthetic, you know, it's a 52-week year business, it can't play when it's raining. See that going to happen? There
are some clubs within South Australia, obviously the eastern seaboard of bowls clubs of what you look at there. Traditionally we're volunteer based here in South Australia, where there's a handful of clubs that have taken that step where they've got a covered green and representing that they can play in any sort of inclement weather or in a fantastic day as well.
All right, now there's some ex-athletes that play a fair bit of bowls. I mean, Barry Rodman comes to mind, one of the greats. I know Grenfell Dietrich plays as well. And I talk to those guys, I see Barry occasionally, and he absolutely loves the competitiveness of the game. So even though there's a social aspect to it, it is highly competitive, isn't it?
We've certainly got the characters within the sport as well, and I think that we complement most sports. We obviously have a driver that we can eventually will get you.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line in this day and age that we will get you somewhere along the line.
All right, for you, mate, you've been in the job a couple of years now. Before that, a footy background.
Yes.
The two line up in any way? I mean, they're both sport, but different problems or similar?
Oh, they're very similar problems. We've got the same sort of regulatory stuff with government as well. We do have betting within the sport. We also have ASADA within the sport. So we do, surprisingly to a lot of people, do have the same similar problems that AFL has, but also on the upside, we've got the wonderful part of the mateship and everything that goes with it for a longer period more so.
All right, no Essendon saga likely to be seen in South Australian bowls?
Definitely not in South Australia. And our athletes are tested, not so much tested, but they do need to do some sort of homework before they actually leave the state and represent our state.
When you talk about the state players, I mean, people have a perception of bowls that it's not too demanding, but I've spoken to some of the athletes that compete in it, and they train just as long, just as hard as any other sport. Just give us a snapshot of what you reckon a state player's week would look like on the green.
On the green, they generally are just repetitive modelling around practicing and obviously trying to get in behind the jack as opposed to in front of it. And there's obviously different drills, dietary requirements, believe it or not, that they do actually go through. So generally you will find that the athletes, even with the Commonwealth Games, will train 3, 4, 5 times a week, if not involved in the sport, where we do have some athletes that are participating on a full-time basis. So
they'd be solid at 2 to 3 to maybe 4 hours every day.
If they're leading towards an event,
on the green, not talking about the physical side outside, working outside of that. It's not hard to draw a comparison then to say some of those elite athletes are working equally as hard as an AFL.
They are definitely working just as hard, if not more in some instances. That it's certainly a sport that you can, just because you play on one surface, then you go to the next one, there is a different translation into how they actually operate within that. There is quite a big demand within the sport. It is obviously the test match of bowls, which was traditionally the pennant, but you've got the shorter versions such as a jack attack, which is more designed around your 2020 cricket, so to speak.
All right, when people talk about bowls, generally they have that picture of the older generation, don't they? And we've seen the shift, and we've talked about the shift coming, but do you find that from time to time that there's a stigma that, you know, it's just for the older people?
We generally get stuck with the superannuation ads, and we're generally comfortable with that because we own that space, and obviously other sports are catching up to our space. We obviously want to attack the younger database, like every sport as well, so we can have that progression and longer lasting within the sport. So we certainly have that mantra to go forward, and Social Bowls does have a younger demographic. We just want to have that retention strategy moving forward.
Oh, it's interesting you talk about the database, which makes me think about computers, and again, the younger generation. I mean, I've got 3 daughters, so they get on the computer. It's easy. I'm used to the phone, and of course we've adapted to the mobile phone. My mum still has the handline phone, so I'm just wondering how all that information is spread amongst such a diverse number of people, how you maintain a contact with them.
Communication's the biggest, I suppose, challenge in any sport, but we've obviously got the Facebooks and the Twitters, believe it or not, and we've also got the computers that we've just tried to develop the databases within the clubs as well. But our social media is quite explosive inside of the way that it operates. It's a great communication plan for our sport. That it's our sport, I suppose our clubs are just a wonderful housing within the community, that it can be from just coming down and having a drink to actually housing and really using the clubs as a facility where people can come and meet in any walk of life. And by the way, we've got bowls outside if you'd like to join in.
Mark, if I right now thought, I've spoken to you, I've watched this show, I want to get involved with a bowling club, what's the best avenue?
Best avenues to contact Bowls SA. Like us on Facebook, there's certainly avenues, and we'll put you in contact with anybody, even down to the functions. If you're just looking in to go out for a corporate day or just anything, it does help the clubs and the community in general, because the Bowls Club is generally, I suppose, the middle of the town. They're on prime land, but they've also got the ability to have and house functions along the way.
Is that a big part for them and necessary for the survival of bowls in that community area?
It's a very important component that if a club just went out and did the traditional format, generally they're propped up by a lot of social activity thereafter, and all walks of life do come to that particular one. We're certainly looking at, as a sport, that 1 or 2 times a year is fantastic. We would like to actually retain you for 20 times a year.
For you, mate, 2 years or plus in the job, footy before that. Have you been on the greens?
I have been on the greens.
Before you took the job? Or
yes, absolutely. So
okay.
More in the social atmosphere. I don't play the pennant format, and that's obviously due to the position that Monday morning could be interesting sometimes. But certainly the social atmosphere, I really do enjoy it as taking up a sport prior to that. But and being in a sport, I really do love the mateship with inside of bowls as well.
So as a CEO, you have to spread yourself across every club.
Yes.
You still have an association with your own club? Are you still there to go and play there, or is that seen as, well, a bit of favouritism there?
I do. I don't play the traditional competition, but I certainly go down there in a social atmosphere and just say g'day, and generally they're pretty good to me.
All right, Mark, thanks for your time. The CEO, Mark Easton, of course, Bowls SA. Any inquiries, get on the phone to Bowls SA. They'll steer you in the right direction. We need to take a break. David Mackay will join us after the break.
Sportscentre is South Australia's leading lawn bowls apparel supplier. With over 40 years' experience in designing, manufacturing and supplying sporting apparel, we have revitalised the look of tired and aged clubs and made them progressive, vibrant and the envy of other clubs. Sportscentre creates original designs to suit your club, and we supply a full range of bowls apparel that will ensure your club looks its best. Whether you need polos, vests, all-weather jackets, long or short pants, socks and caps, we have it all, so you won't need to travel far and wide across the city. Sportscentre is your one-stop bowls apparel specialist outlet.
Hi, I'm Alina from Lakeside Nissan at Paraka. We're celebrating 33 years of being a South Australian family-owned business, and 10 years in Paraka. We offer the full range of new Nissan vehicles, a great selection of RAA-approved pre-owned vehicles, spare parts, a comfortable lounge area with free coffee, and express servicing every hour for your convenience. And ask our staff about our loyalty servicing program, which will save you money. We wanted to say thanks to South Australia for your support over the last 10 years. And if you haven't met us, come down and enjoy the difference at Lakeside Nissan.